Hell Let Loose's biggest tank overhaul ever is coming, and it's rolling alongside the refreshed Stalingrad, as well as new tank mechanics, and even a new tank class called the Tinkerer. This is going to change how armor is played in Hell Let Loose forever. So sit back, relax, smash that subscribe button, and lock the in. Welcome back, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in for another video. So let's go over update 18 in detail, and this update will come a little later. It doesn't give a specific date. Let's dive into some of the major changes, specifically the armor rework that we're seeing today on the debrief. So number one, the main thing for this update is the Stalingrad refresh, right? Stalingrad getting a full top to bottom refresh. It's being added with new weather effects. We covered that in the last video. If you didn't see the last video, there will be a little tag, or I'll put the video in the description. So there's some new effects, VFX on tanks, and new VFX on the weather of Stalingrad itself. If you want to go ahead and try the Stalingrad refresh, there's actually a playtest. Make sure you download the public playtest environment this Friday, August 15th. And if you join, there might be some familiar faces there playing along with you. So be sure to go ahead and check that out. If you're checking out that PTE, can be noted that there will also be the new armor reworks that we're going to be covering in that PTE. So let's dive into the PTE itself. I'm sorry, into the armor rework itself. So number one, the tank balancing. Again, the emphasis is for each tank to have its own characteristic and its own performance. The encouragement here is to add strategic diversity, and the viability of the medium and the light tank is going to be significantly increased, and the heavy tank will also get a major debuff. All right, so here in the debrief it states, one of these stat groups focuses on tanks' offensive capabilities. Each tank will now have specific stats assigned to its weapon, including muzzle velocity, shell drop-off distance, reload time, damage output for both armor piercing AP and high explosive, turret speed, depression and elevation angles, and the power of its coax machine gun. A few other changes here. So number one is the tank traversal. So the tank traversal itself should be better over trenches, over objects. Along with the tank traversal, they've also added condition-specific behavior. So what this means is, depending on the type of surface you're driving the tank on, such as a muddy ground, urban streets, open fields, so on and so forth, the tank will have different traversal speed dependent on what you're driving on. So essentially, if a tank is driving through the mud, it would, I would imagine, go slower, and maybe you could go ahead and use that to your advantage if you're trying to flank it driving on the main roads. But of course, the offset to that is you're driving on the main roads, so you could get flanked by infantry easier, you could be more predictable, so on and so forth. And this is the biggest change that we've seen. An entire, essentially new class that's being made. I have no idea about any of this, so I'll certainly be doing some testing during the PTE, but the Tinkerer tool. So I'm just picturing Guido from like Cars as like the new meta. Hear me out. This is weird. So the Tinkerer loadout is going to augment the existing traits of a tank. It allows the crew to adapt or improve its performance based on the needs of the tank commander. The mechanic empowers armor squads to respond to map-specific challenges, the current match state, enemy behavior, or gathered intel, which I don't really understand. The Tinkerer system supports a more dynamic and adaptive tank experience where tanks are no longer locked into a fixed stat loadout for the entire match. Instead, crews can make real-time adjustments, enabling more strategic decision-making and greater battlefield flexibility. So here's like the three major upgrades, or the three major like tunings you can do. And you can do this, my assumption is at any point in time, as many times as you want. However, I would assume that there's also some sort of cooldown or like time it takes to do this, right? So number one is the mobility upgrade. You move faster, essentially, by removing heavy loads. And the trade-off here is, I believe the armor itself will go down, but the increase is going to be faster acceleration and faster turning speed. The turret tuning, essentially, it tunes the electronics or hydraulic systems, and it'll allow faster turret turning, say that 10 times fast. And it says including speed and damage as well. So it'll increase your damage, the speed at which you turn the turret, and the trade-off is that you will have slower reload times and potential jamming as well, which is super weird. And it appears that this will be like a temporary buff too. It says the increased speed is temporary. So yeah, I don't even know what to make of this. The last one is armor bracing. Very curious how this is going to turn out as well. So if you're under heavy fire, you may feel that applying additional armor or reinforcing existing armor plating will be your best move. In this approach, you will gain increased armor on the front, side, or the rear of the tank. However, you'll give up on speed with a decrease in top speed as well as slower turning. So like, are you literally just bolting on freaking plates onto this tank while you're fighting? There's no images of this. There's no sort of like indication of how long this will be, how it'll work. I have no idea. So the Tinkerer gonna be probably the biggest meta change in Hell Loose that we've ever seen. Moving on, the heavy tank limitation. So again, as mentioned a little bit earlier, the heavy tanks themselves are going to be the strongest but rarest vehicles. So the change is a increase in the cooldown period the moment this vehicle spawns rather than when it's destroyed. In addition to that, there will only ever be 2 active units per team at any given time, is my understanding. But it doesn't really specify if it's 2 per team or 2 total. I believe it's 2 per team is what I'm reading this as, but it doesn't really specify. And lastly, something that doesn't seem to be immediate but will be in the future is a full immersion improvement, which is essentially the way that the audio will be in the tank and outside of the tank. My understanding is that it'll essentially like be immersive, where it'll sound probably like you're actually inside of something, around something, in the wide open. And my prayer is that we get the tank whistle on the ricochets, that or like, you know, when it's flying over you, you get a really weird sound. That is my absolute prayer. The last thing here for future armor editions is self-propelled artillery. Self-propelled artillery, there's no additional details on it, but this will be some sort of armored vehicle you can use as artillery. So maybe gone with the the arty meta, changing it up into some sort of mechanized anti-tank meta now. I don't know. I mean, I don't like the current arty meta, but putting it into armor, in my opinion, is probably not the best idea. I mean, I guess we gotta wait and see what it looks like, but I would like to see mortars personally. Aside from the Stalingrad update, the armor update, the last thing, really a very small but quality of life change, is the support role. The support role now has a new feature in which when they drop a supply crate, they can go ahead and then pick it up and redistribute it somewhere else instead of you having to wait that full 5-minute time. I mean, that's cool. Definitely a quality of life thing. Something to be mentioned, but I think it's very much overshadowed by this major change here on the armor rework. So let me know what you guys think. Be sure to go ahead and tune in Friday for the PTE. Possibly your boy might be streaming live on the Hell Loose Twitch channel, so that'll be cool. And be sure to tune in too to this thing. They've been like throwing this under the radar, and I think like we definitely want to be watching for this. Next Wednesday, this will be at I believe about 2 p.m. Eastern. Next Wednesday, the 20th, there will be a Hella Loose showing at the Future Games Show. The last time they were there was when Hella Loose released back in 2021. That's what I looked up in on ChatGPT. So I have no idea what they're going to show, but I think we want to keep our eyes there for that. So let me know in the comments what you think of the armor rework. Are you excited for it? Or is this different than what you expected? Are you going to be a Tinkerer main? Let me know in the comments. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the battle.